For more on this, NBC News correspondent Antonia Hilton is live for us in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. Also with us, former senior FBI profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole and MSNBC legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Antonia, what comes next now for Mangione following this indictment late yesterday here in New York?
Good morning, Anna. Well, what comes next is a set of hearings that are going to happen here right behind me in Pennsylvania tomorrow morning. The very first hearing will be all about his state charges here in Pennsylvania. And then right after that, they'll roll into a second hearing that is all about extradition. And as you mentioned, we now are hearing from his team, a source that has spoken to NBC News, that he expects to stop this fight. And what we learned from Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg yesterday in their presser is that essentially as soon as New York authorities have the ability to take him from Pennsylvania to New York, that's exactly what they plan to do. And in that same presser, they walked the press, the public, through these 11 incredibly serious counts that he's facing, including that elevated charge of first-degree murder and the elements of terrorism here. Take a listen to NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch speaking at that presser.
We don't celebrate murders, and we don't lionize the killing of anyone. And any attempt to rationalize this is vile, reckless, and offensive to our deeply held principles of justice.
In addition to laying out the counts here and the actions of Luigi Mangione, the alleged actions, they also are telling a cultural and sort of contextual communal story about this case here. And that's why the terrorism charges are part of this. They're going to be painting a picture of him, establishing not just premeditation in first-degree murder, but also that he wanted to incite a movement, copycat violence, the potential change of policy in the United States, and that was all a critical part of this story and this case, too. And then I'll also note that later this afternoon, in unrelated separate press conferences, we expect to hear from Governor Kathy Hochul and from the NYPD commissioner again. And so certainly, no doubt, reporters will ask them questions about Luigi Mangione and what we expect to happen tomorrow at the end of his extradition hearing. Anna.
Right now, it is a full court press on this case. Thank you very much, Antonia, for that reporting. So, Danny, Mangione is now charged with first-degree murder in furtherance of terrorism, also 2 counts of second-degree murder, including killing as an act of terrorism. So talk to us more about these charges. Explain them, if you will, especially kind of honing in on that terrorism component. What has to be proven?
So when Mangione was only going to be charged with second-degree murder, there was a lot of, let's just say, criticism that, hey, well, this seems like a pretty horrific murder. Why isn't it first-degree murder? And it has to do with how New York defines murder. All intentional killings in New York are second-degree murder. You see, he was charged and is charged with second-degree murder. Only specific statutory factual situations will qualify for murder in the first degree. Examples: killing a police officer, murder for hire. There's only one subsection that could possibly apply here, and it's the terrorism enhancement. It's part of New York's anti-terrorism law enacted just days after the 9/11 attacks in 2001. And what that does is it does aggravate in situations where a killing is committed as an act of terror. And even though this may seem like a pretty easy application, at least according to cases in New York, including the state's highest court, the Court of Appeals, it's not entirely clear always what is an act of terror intended to intimidate a civilian population.
So, Mary Ellen, how do you see the alleged terrorism component here? Does it fit the crime?
Yes, it does to me. And to look at it flipping it around, it almost could be something that Luigi sort of embraces, because it puts him in a different status. And I remember working on the Unabomber case, we talked about his crimes being crimes of terrorism and that he was a terrorist. So now he's kind of on the same level of someone that we know he researched and admired. So looking at it from his perspective, this may be something that he will actually embrace.
Danny, Antonia mentioned these back-to-back hearings expected tomorrow in Pennsylvania, including an extradition hearing, and a source familiar with the situation telling NBC News Mangione his team doesn't plan to fight that. So how soon, how quickly could this move?
Yeah, I've been saying this for several days now, that just because Mangione initially, through his Pennsylvania lawyer, said they were going to challenge extradition, that decision may change because it is a foregone conclusion. It is a constitutional requirement. Mangione is going back to New York. You can fight it, maybe extend it a couple weeks, maybe a month, but at the end of the day, he will go back to New York. So I wouldn't be surprised if they withdrew their challenge to extradition. And then meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, his case is supposed to continue. He's charged with forgery and firearms offenses. That case, in theory, will continue. But in practice, it will be delayed while they send him back to New York to face charges here. And just a last comment on the terrorism. Although many folks may say, oh, this seems like an easy application of terrorism, I'm just putting on my defense hat. Number one, the argument could be made that every violent crime intimidates a civilian population. And number two, if it's meant to intimidate a civilian population, maybe the defense would even argue, no. If anything, Mangione thought he was striking out to help civilians who are victimized by health insurance companies. I'm just playing defense attorney, playing the role here. But that might be one of two different challenges they make to this charge.
I mean, we have seen all the reaction online, in particular, people cheering what happened, which has been just mind-boggling, Mary Ellen. And the words we heard there from the NYPD Commissioner Tisch yesterday, we don't celebrate murders. Some strong words. Talk about the profile of Mangione that's now unraveling in this investigation compared to this figure that has been vaulted or lionized by parts of the public.
Yeah, it really is astounding to see how people have really made him into like a kind of a Robin Hood, somebody that did something really good, and that is very concerning to me and to many other people. But I think as the investigation goes on and they look for indicators of violent behavior in his past, and if they're there and they come out, I think people will slowly start to pull away from that. And for me, one of the most telling and really chilling comments that have been made thus far is what his mother said to the police, that she didn't recognize the photo, but she could see him possibly doing something like that, or words to that effect. And that was startling to me. And at that point, I thought, if your own mother thinks you can do that, then did those indicators come up in other relationships? And I think right now we're masking his success being the valedictorian, going to an Ivy League school, as being contraindicating of the fact that he could act out in a violent way. We don't know yet, but he could have personality traits that significantly contributed to this, and they would have been present in high school and in college and in his work life.
Mary Ellen, what did you make about him going dark or kind of going silent off the grid? No one could seem to find him for several months. In fact, we learned his family filed this missing persons report in San Francisco back in November, and now finding out that his mom reportedly hadn't spoken to him since July and had reached out to friends and acquaintances of his to try to find out more. How does that fit into the puzzle pieces here?
Well, we know he did it, and so there are reasons for why he did it. And it may have been to further his planning, and it also could have been the fact that he was kind of shunned by people that he was living with. It didn't look like he had his job after 2022, and it looked like he was more of a drifter. So there could have been problems that he was wanting to get away from, which would have been the motivation behind his leaving other people, particularly leaving behind his family. It may not have been just to experience life or see what life was like in Japan. There could have been more nefarious reasons for why he has pulled away.